Hello and welcome back to some more of the Great Ace Attorney Adventures. Well, last time we began the trial for the third case of the game, which is the adventure of the Runaway Room, and this case is a bit weird. Not in the sense that the story is weird, because the story so far is perfectly functional, it's all great, and the new gameplay is awesome. Weird in the sense that there don't seem to be any breaks. There don't seem to be any intermissions here. No points where the game goes, to be continued, save your game and come back later. It's just non-stop trial to trial to trial, trial section 1 to trial section 2, with no breaks whatsoever. Which is very weird. We've never had this happen before, where it transitions between scenes without actually pausing to ask the player to save. So it's a bit strange. But I'm just gonna have to keep, I guess, a watchful eye on the save screen, so I know when we transition into the next part, or maybe this will be the final part of the case. Who knows? But I doubt it, since the first two cases were very lengthy. So, but you know, who knows? Anything's possible. Anyway, we're in the middle of a testimony, which I don't like to start things in the middle of testimonies, but, you know, we're here, so I guess we'll just keep going. I only carried 4 passengers that night, I swear it,
Well, I for one was told I had to pay 5 pence for the bus.
He fiddled us on the fare, he did, and then I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. It's all too much.
I tell you, I saw him guilty of stabbing that man. Everything I said before stands.
Oh, yes, he stabbed him. Yes, he did. I think so, yes.
You think so? This is not a situation where saying "I think so" flies, buddy. You have to be sure of this. We're dealing with a man's life here. Okay, I don't trust that at all.
Counsel, make sense of this for me, please. The phantom 5th passenger conjured into existence by my learned Eastern friend never existed, despite the math being blatantly contradictory to that. The confusion has arisen from the coachman's sly little cozenage.
Beppo, explain yourself.
I'm terribly sorry. Oh dear Lord Almighty. Guildmaster?
The guild's fare is 4 pence across the board. You know that. Am I to understand that you've been overcharging our passengers by a penny a fare?
It's so cold, and the last run of the day is always half empty.
You have been dishonest, coachman.
I'm sorry.
You're a disgrace, Beppo. A disgrace. Bigger issues, juror. No, bigger issues, Mr. Overcooked Man.
If I may, sir, I had to pay 10 pence on the bus just last week.
What? Bigger issues, people. Just hash all this out later.
4 passengers at 5 pence each is, yes, 20 pence. I've done the arithmetic 10 times already. Or the arithmetic 10 times already. Or,
I can't speak. Arithmetic. I've done the arithmetic, if I can speak properly. I've done the arithmetic 10 times already, but I just can't make the result come out differently. No, that figures.
Well, it would appear that one of the aforementioned misgivings has already been explained. So, counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, if you please. We've already had the pleasure of a protracted summation examination today. I see you intend to continue the parlor games.
Yes, the parlor games of standard courtroom procedures. How silly of me. Absolutely! Okay, once again, no blatant contradictions, so as per the usual, we are just going to press for more information, and I'm going to start my pressing adventure with, I think he might have stabbed him. Who knows? Why would I need to be specific about that kind of thing? Also, one more thing I wanted to check, that I forgot to check, or I guess maybe not forgot, but just didn't think to. I forgot to actually read the debtor's ledger, which I really should have. This game seems to be way more strict about, like, making sure you examine every item or every piece of evidence in explicit detail, as evidenced by the last case, where I could clearly see that the photograph on the table had the picture of the cat in it, but you had to zoom in on it and then present it, instead of just being able to present the photo frame, despite being able to clearly see the cat from where we were standing. But whatever. So I'm just gonna try to make it a habit at this point to check every nook and cranny, inspect, if you will, inspect every suspicious looking nook and cranny on every piece of evidence that we get. Just better safe than sorry. So let's see if we can open up this thing and read what it has to say. Yeah. It has information on everything. So let's see if there's any useful information in here, or if I'm not gonna be able to read any of it because it's all chicken scratch.
Gosh, it's crammed full of gentlemen's names, isn't it? Well, I suppose they're probably not all gentlemen at all, are they? After all, not everyone in this country is well off. Ah, goodness! What is it? Look at this. Do you see the name here? Bruce Fairplay.
Oh, Bruce Fairplay, huh?
Should that mean something to me? It does sound strange familiar, actually. Yeah, what a strangely familiar name. Now, where have I heard such a name before? God, it just slipped my mind. He may be literally 2 feet in front of me at the witness stand right now, one of 3 people whom I'm currently cross-examining, but I can't quite put my finger on where that name stems from. The witness testifying at this very moment. Oh, yes, of course, the banker. Why is his name in here? Ah, he borrowed 20 guineas, did he? And look, the repayment date is fast approaching. It's possible that it's just a coincidence, of course, but this could be very useful information.
Yeah, it could be useful information that Fair Play had a debt to McGill, whatever his stupid name is. McGill something? I don't know. Whatever. Yes, okay, so this is why I need to check everything, because there's been instances in the past where if you don't actually properly examine it, it won't give you all the information, so you have to go really in-depth with this stuff. So, I gotta be sure to check this. Anyway, you think that he stabbed him? Earlier you testified that you saw the moment when the defendant allegedly stabbed the victim, didn't you?
Oh, yes, that's right.
You said that the victim was on the floor and described the assailant holding the knife in an ice pick grip.
I suppose I might have, yes, put the cart before the horse, maybe.
Out with it, man. What's this?
Well, I'm quite sure about most of it.
Just cut to there's a chase, please cut to it.
I was driving the horses when I heard a scream from the seats on the roof deck. Oh, I expect that was me, sir. Then when I just turned around, yes, I saw out through the skylight. The gentleman was on the floor, and the knife was sticking up out of his midriff. That's right, yes, and the fellow holding the handle was the famous man. Yes.
So in short, you didn't see the moment when the victim was actually stabbed at all?
I really thought that I did, but when I go over it again in my head, no, I suppose I didn't actually see the...
Oh, well. Yes, this is what I mean. It's like, this just feels kind of, like, I guess to be blunt, pointless. Like, it feels redundant if every time... Because it's the same problem that was in the crossover, where every time one of the people on the stand reacts, it's always the correct choice to pursue them further, and there's never multiple choices for interaction or for pursuing people. It's always very one note, one track, linear, scripted stuff. So I've just honestly, when I first heard about when it was first revealed in the crossover that there was going to be group testimony, I was over the moon excited at the possibility of doing this as a gameplay mechanic. But then the further on we got and the more I actually saw it in execution, I'm just like, oh, this is just redundant. So, still not thrilled with this, gotta be honest.
Excuse me.
Do you have something to say about that, Mr. Fairplay?
Now you listen to me. I know what you're thinking. He didn't really see the exact moment the fellow was stabbed. What are the chances of that? Eh?
Are you asking me or telling me? He's getting flustered. I might be able to extract some new information from him if I answer him cleverly. Could he have just happened to see the exact moment the crime was committed? Yeah, some days like that. No chance. Absolutely not. Well, it is a little hard to believe, certainly, unless you spend your time peeping through a skylight on top of the omnibus, that is.
Peeping? I'm a respectable city banker, I'll have you know, and I know what I saw. I remember it as clear as a Ballarat day. It was a grim scene, I don't mind telling you.
Thank you, Mr. Fairplay.
Oh, excuse me if I was getting a little hot under the collar there, my lord.
I would ask you to supplement your testimony with a clear statement of what exactly you saw.
Oh, I can do that, all right? I'll tell you just how grim it
was. Oh, do tell. Do provide more details that I can get you to slip up on.
Do you think I'd forget the sight of those blood-soaked hands?
Ask and thou shalt receive. I ask for you to provide more specific details that I'm gonna be able to get you to slip up on, and you give me more specific details that I can get you to easily slip up on, in the form of you claiming that there's blood all over both of his hands, despite the fact that there's only blood on one of these gloves. Blood-soaked hands?
Well, I admit that soaked might be laying on a little thick, but anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it.
Well, I'm very sorry to disagree, Mr. Fairplay, but that's more than a little peculiar.
What?
Here are the gloves worn by the defendant, Mr. McGill, on the night in question.
Oh, yes, right.
And there certainly does appear to be a sizable dark-colored stain there, but as I'm sure you can clearly see, it's only on the right-hand glove.
Ah!
In short, Mr. Fairplay, your testimony is inconsistent.
Ah. But no, that can't be right.
Oh, great, you've pissed off Granny.
So you're the liar here, then.
Ah.
That's right, you were quite clear about it.
You said it was both hands. Ah.
Mr. Fairplay, if your last statement was a lie, it called your entire testimony into question. You say you saw the moment the victim was stabbed, but is that really the truth? Well, considering that we have a potential motive for him in the form of the debtor's ledger, not so sure. Oh, great. What does Dracula have to say?
It was a simple mistake. You can't justify accusing this man of lying. Yes, it was in both hands, it was only one. But the fact remains. The victim's blood was on the accused.
No, Mr. Fairplay categorically stated that he saw blood all over both hands, which means there's a strong possibility that this witness was deliberately trying to mislead the court.
Why? I'm a city banker for I almost said Pete's sake, for pity's sake. My word should be the gold standard. I'm a gentleman, not some gutter snipe. Upstanding members of society don't prevaricate.
He's claiming to have no reason to lie, but is that really the case? Mr. Naruhodo, if we had some evidence to explain why Mr. Fairplay might be lying— Oh, I got that on hand. It could turn the tide in the trial completely. Something to show that this man has a compelling reason to lie in his testimony. I have evidence. My lord.
Yes, counsel.
The defense is ready to present evidence.
By Jove. By Jove, Justice. Are you sure?
Yes, evidence that will clearly demonstrate why Mr. Fairplay had reason to lie in his testimony.
Very well. I hereby call on the defense to present its evidence. The evidence that demonstrates a motive for the witness's alleged deception of the court would be the debtor's ledger.
Take that! This is a list of the debtors who owe money to Mr. McGilded.
Yes, a list of innocent victims crippled by the accused extortion.
The point is, among the names of these debtors is your name, Mr. Bruce Fairplay.
What? Mr. Fairplay, are you currently indebted financially to the accused?
No, well, it's barely worth being called a debt.
According to this ledger, you owe 20 guineas. Not an inconsiderable sum of money, wouldn't you say?
Well, what of it?
Let's suppose Mr. McGilded were to be found guilty of murder. What would become of your debt in that case?
These documents state that the loan agreement is forged between two individual parties. Therefore, were the creditor, the defendant here, to be sentenced to a capital punishment, all outstanding debts which were owed to him would be annulled. They would cease to exist.
Cease to exist? Mr. Fairplay, is it not the case that you claimed in your testimony to have seen something you never in fact saw in a devious attempt to annul your debt of 20 guineas to the defendant? Yeah, chew on your staff some more. That'll do you real good.
Order. Mr. Bruce Fairplay.
Yeah, does your staff taste real good there?
Yes, my lord.
Let me ask you again, and be aware that your answer may have most serious implications upon your future, sir. Did you or did you not see the precise moment in time at which the defendant is alleged to have thrust a knife into the victim?
Think carefully here, pal. Your silence speaks volumes! You did not tell the truth in your testimony!
Alright,
let's not make a melodrama out of this. Welcome to Ace Attorney, pal.
perhaps I did overstate the truth a pinch.
Yeah, more than a bit of a pinch, buddy. You said you saw something that you literally didn't see. Nice try. A pinch?
But it makes no difference.
You're a witness who's there because because they believe that you saw the exact moment of the crime, and yet you evidently did not. It makes a very big difference, buddy.
I definitely remember seeing blood on Mr. McGilded's hands. Both of them.
Okay, so then you must have seen someone else's hands and not his, because the only way this works is if there was someone else inside the omnibus. So that may be true, but that means you saw someone else's hands, not his. And yet, only one of the defendant's gloves, which we have here as evidence, is stained.
So you keep saying.
I wonder if I might be allowed to speak, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. First.
Well, the thing is, I think I remember seeing it myself as it happens. Seeing what? The blood, sir, on the accused's hands. I think, yes, I'm almost sure that it was on both of his hands, not just one. What? What? I mean, that doesn't really, that's fine. It just means that, because I doubt that through the window, hold on, let me check the omnibus. I don't think we actually examined this in detail. I doubt that. Also, where did it go? Where did did the omnibus just get taken out of the courtroom? Like, where'd it go? I doubt that from the top of this thing. I doubt that from the top. Okay, not great camera angle here, but I guess it's slightly better. I doubt that from the top of the through that glass at night. Very strong. You've got to be kidding me. Seriously? Really? Really? You went that on the nose. Really? Really, buddy? Are you kidding me? Alright then. Whatever you say. Anyway, okay, so what I was trying to say is I doubt that at night through this tiny window that you'd be able to clearly identify the facial features, especially from a top-down angle, that you'd be able to clearly identify the facial features of the people in question. Especially, wait a minute. Okay, so I really wish I could see a bit better. Okay, so were they sitting in the front row or the back row? I mean, I would assume the back row because obviously if they were sitting in the front row, they wouldn't have been able to see downward at all. But I mean, it's if they are sitting in the front row, that might explain how they just like took a cursory glance back behind them and then they saw. But assuming they're sitting. Actually, wait, no, they have to be sitting here. Okay, I get it, I understand it as an upon me. Okay, so if they're standing, I didn't want to, no, game, please, no, game, I didn't want to check that. Although, actually, out of curiosity, what happens if I examine this? I can't find anything out of place. Yeah, it's not like I see a blatant anachronism here of a name of my future great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson or something like that, who wasn't even alive at this time. Yeah, nothing out of place here at all. Okay, I was hoping that the characters might at least acknowledge it in some capacity, but, so if they're sitting on this chair on this bench right here, which they would have had to be, because if they were sitting here, they couldn't have seen down the window, the skylight at all, then they can't see directly below them. They can only see what's happening in the seats in front of them right over here. But the seats directly below them are completely obscured from their field of view. So, what happens if we have two people sitting in these seats, and then Mr. Willy Wonka is sitting in these seats, which are directly below the bench and completely out of the field of view that they would have from those benches? Meaning that if they can't make out facial features and the defendant was sitting right here, then all they would have seen was the real culprit, whose identity remains unknown, and the victim on this side, and they couldn't tell the difference. That's gotta be what it is. That's gotta be what it is. That would explain the discrepancy, because it would explain how they can't see what's going on. And they would have had to be sitting here, because there's no way they would have been called up if they were sitting here because they couldn't have seen to the skylight. So it has to be right here. That's gotta be what it is. Also, I'm just kind of, like, taking a cursory glance around the omnibus, searching for any other obscure details that I may have missed, since apparently I missed the fact that it's called the Phoenix Wright Omnibus the first time around. Like, are you kidding me? Seriously? It's a bit on the nose there, aren't we, game? I didn't want to check the ladder, although it would have been, I guess, nice if they called back to step ladder versus ladder discussions from the original trilogy, but whatever. Anyway, let's keep going. It would appear that we're going to need further testimony from all you witnesses. This time, I would like to know precisely what you did and what you did not see. Do I make myself perfectly clear? Yep. Mr. Naruhodo! This is good, news. The course of the trial seems to have shifted slightly, at least. Well, a slight shift is better than no shift at all, so, I'll take it. Yes! I might finally have a chance to turn things around here. I think you already significantly turned things around yesterday in the summation examination, but, okay. Witness testimony. What the witnesses really saw. Really, in quotation marks.
There was blood on both hands of the assailants. I sincerely and distinctly remember that. However, I suppose you might say that I didn't see the exact moment the stabbing transpired, if that of course it matters.
I remember seeing the knife, and I remember seeing both of the attackers' hands with blood on them. I didn't actually see anything myself, but no, not until I heard that scream.
Anyway, the fact remains, there can't have been anyone else inside that carriage or we all would have seen.
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Well, to lo and behold, in truth of fact, not one of you was witness to the crucial moment the crime was perpetrated.
Yeah, you got a great system for ferreting out potential witnesses to the crime here, pal.
I apologize, my lord, but honestly, there was no one else inside that carriage, and the man's hands were covered in blood. That much incriminating evidence is tantamount to saying that we saw the man do it.
That's really not what testimony is about.
Let us examine the interior of the omnibus once more. I think I've done the exterior job for you, including a... Have you guys checked out the nameplate in the back? It's pretty interesting. The victim's fresh blood is clearly visible on the seat, corroborating the witness's accounts. In other words, there is no substantial, nor significant, change in the facts of the case.
Very well. Your cross-examination, please, counsel. With pleasure. Yes, my lord. Alright. Here we go. Again, no blatant contradictions, but I think I might be able to shine some light on how there could have been someone else. I didn't want to skip through the whole goddamn thing. I think I might be able to shed some light on how there could have been someone else reasonably hiding in the omnibus. Okay, can you stop yammering on about? I get it, I got it. Let me just press what I want to press, and I can proceed on with the rest of the testimony. And everything you saw of the incident was through the skylight on the roof of the omnibus?
That's right. It was fiercely cold that night, but the glass wasn't frosted over.
Oh yes, I remember I was shivering. It was so bitter.
Which rather begs the question of why the pair of you were sitting on the roof deck in the first place. Well, I don't know about this young fellow, but I couldn't enter the cabin.
Oh? Why not?
It was locked from the inside. I tried knocking, but no one opened the door.
It was locked?
That's right, and it's a public bus service for pity's sake. That's not what I call fair play.
That's what we call foul play.
Yes, I had exactly the same experience. I tried knocking, but the gent inside suggested me to clear off. So I had no choice but to climb up to the roof deck and look down longingly into the warm cabin below.
Well, I can assure you I wasn't just looking down. I was glaring long and hard. And that's precisely why I can tell you with absolute confidence that if there was anyone else at all in that cabin, I would notice. No, you wouldn't have, because your field of view is completely restricted from directly below you. You can't see the seats directly below you.
Unequivocal, I would say.
I'm not sure about these two witnesses. Could they really have seen everything inside the cabin through the skylight? They might not have been able to. Allow me to confirm one thing, Mr. Fairplay. You were riding this omnibus, oh, okay, I guess it is still in the courtroom, and witnessed the events in the cabin through the skylight of the floor of the upper deck, is that right?
That's right, yes.
In that case, there is a portion of the cabin interior that would have been out of sight from you.
What?
By golly, really? Obviously, at this stage, we can't say for sure. But the possibility cannot be denied that at the time of the incident, there could have been another passenger in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus.
Objection!
Enough hypothetical meandering, my Nipponese friend. The prosecution demands that you substantiate your claims. After all, the scene of the crime is here, in the flesh.
Very well, I will uphold the prosecution's demand. You will identify the area on this cross-sectional plane of the omnibus. Where exactly in the omnibus are you suggesting this potential extra passenger could have been situated?
I would say that they could have been situated on these seats right here.
Take that!
Although I don't think the extra passenger was sitting there. I think that Magnus McGillicuddy or whatever his name is was sitting there, and the actual culprit was sitting in his place across the way in the line of sight of the witnesses. Both rows of seats on the roof facing the direction of travel. Also, if anybody in the comments gets the reference when I say Mr. McGillicuddy, bonus points in some fictional capacity, because points don't exist. But you know what I mean. Props to you if you understand the reference that I'm making when I say Mr. McGillicuddy. Whereas the seats in the enclosed cabin face each other, which means the visible part of the cabin which passengers on the roof deck can see through the skylight is as I've drawn here.
Ah.
That's right, my lord. As you can see, the seat opposite the one on which the victim and his attacker was sitting is obscured from view. In other words, if someone had been sitting on the seat, it's quite possible that these witnesses would have been completely unaware of it.
Ah.
Objection!
It's quite possible some phantom was sitting there. You Nipponese have a forbidding habit of obscuring the truth with ambiguity.
I concur with the prosecution's rejoinder. In a British court, evidence is paramount. I cannot entertain the conjecture, counsel. That is, unless you're able to put a name to this mysterious passenger to whom you allude.
I can do that. Can you, Mr. Naruhodo? I honestly don't know. Who could it have been? Who could have been in the other seat, which was out of sight from the witnesses? I have an inkling. I have a very strong inkling, as a matter of fact. I understand, my lord. The defense would like to put forward a name. Oh, great. I guess the chalice is regenerated.
You are a fool. A foolish fool, one might say. That response was a desperate attempt by a man who has no notion of his own limitations.
Great. Let's flaunt our liquid physics some more, why don't we?
A toast to hard lessons not yet learned.
Let us not delay, Counsel. The defense is still to name the passenger in the other seat.
This could be it. This could be the chance that I've been waiting for to turn the trial. You've been saying that for like an hour now, but I feel like you've had many opportunities in which you have taken advantage of to turn the trial in your favor, so I don't know what you keep going on about. On that night, on the night of the murder, the person occupying the seat in the omnibus cabin that was obscured from view was Willy Wonka himself.
Take that!
The passenger in the enclosed cabin that the witnesses on the roof deck failed to see has to have been Mr. Magnus McGilded. Mr. McGilded?
What are you talking about, Counsel? That's the name of the defendant.
My point exactly. Also, we haven't heard anything from the jury in quite a while. I guess that they only... Oh, okay. Maybe a little bit of overkill there, buddy.
If I desecrate this chamber by smashing my hollow chalice twice, do forgive the discourtesy.
Lord Van Zeeks.
People talk of those tiny island nations in the Far East as having a learning and culture of their own, but I see they use the terms ill-advisedly.
What are you trying to say?
Let me explain in terms that even a student
of an artless backwater such as yourself might understand. Jesus Christ, the people in this game are terrible.
When the bloody scene unfolded, the victim and his assailant were sitting side by side. Multiple witnesses have attested to the fact. It's the very premise on which this case is built.
Yeah, and in that picture that you just showed me, you know what's not visible? Their faces, you idiot. But that premise may be wrong.
What?
If the victim really was sitting beside Mr. McGilded, it creates an inconsistency that can be reconciled in any way.
What inconsistency, Counsel?
The defendant's gloves, my lord. Both witnesses made the same testimony. They claimed that there was blood on both hands of the person sitting next to the victim.
Yet we know the truth to be otherwise. Only one glove bears the gory remains.
The point is, even in the face of this irrefutable evidence, both witnesses have maintained their stance.
Yes, their testimony remains unchanged.
Exactly. They both adamantly swear that they clearly remember seeing blood on both hands of the assailant. In short, the memory of events is correct, and their testimony reveals the truth. It was somebody else sitting beside the victim that night, a third party we've yet to identify, and the victim's blood was on that passenger's hands, both of them!
And who was this third party?
Obviously, the true culprit. He probably wanted a more specific name than that, but okay. Extraordinary. He probably wanted an actual name, not a role in the case, but, you know.
Order. What exactly are you postulating?
Objection!
The defense's postulation is just that, nothing more than conjecture. The witnesses have clearly stated that they saw the accused.
But when elaborating on his testimony, Mr. Fairplay said the two of them was wearing hats and I couldn't exactly make out their faces.
Yes.
The tops of their heads were obscured to the roof. I could see the rest of them, though. Yeah, but the most important part in identifying a person will be the face.
Yes, that's right. Both gents were most certainly hatted. Hatters do tend to notice such things, sir.
And what particular style of hat did the two gentlemen sport, Mr. First?
I'm afraid I don't remember.
Don't remember or you couldn't see them. And you call yourself a hatter? A Mad Hatter.
The style of hat makes no difference. There was no third passenger in that cabin.
How can you be sure?
Because if there had been, the accused, Mr. McGilded, would undoubtedly have offered to depose the fact.
Okay, well then let's call him to the stand and see if he changes his mind. Because as of right now, the only chance he has of getting out of this is if we're correct. So, let's call him up to the stand and see if he tells the truth in the matter this time.
Unless, that is, you are proposing an even more preposterous explanation. That the accused failed even to notice the presence of the true culprit.
I wouldn't go with failed to notice. I'd go with probably had some kind of reason to obscure the fact that there was another person in the cabin, of which we don't currently know, but there must be one, so let's call him to the stand and get his testimony. I keep wanting to say that there's precedent for calling our own client to the stand, but then I have to keep remembering this takes place centuries before the other games, so... Let's set the precedent for the other games. He's right. If there was another person traveling in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus, it's inconceivable that Mr. McGilder would have been unaware of it. So call him to the stand.
Order. There is clearly a simple solution to this problem.
Bring the accused Mr. McGilder to the stand.
Yes.
Well, what say you, counsel?
The prosecution objects, my lord. On what grounds?
That's literally exactly what I just said.
As a suspect, he will have already made a full statement to the police.
But what if there's some reason why he's unable to speak freely?
Magnus McGilder is no uneducated ruffian. If it indeed turns out the man has been withholding information, you can be sure it will have been a most deliberate act.
Okay, that doesn't change at all what I had. Okay, so what I said is, what if there's a reason why he can't tell you why he hasn't previously spoken about the fact that there was someone else in the cabin? Then you said,
Yeah, well, if he did, then it would have been deliberate.
I'm like, that doesn't counter anything I just said. Obviously, it would have to be deliberate act. What's your point?
Counsel for the defense.
My lord, should we ask Mr. Speaker to testify? Obviously. I can't, I'm trying to wrap my head around his little counter there. That doesn't counter what we said. Obviously, that if he withheld information about who was in the cabin, it would have had to be a deliberate act. So saying that doesn't actually counter anything that I had to say. So yeah, demand his testimony. Yes, we need to hear what he has to say in order to find out the truth. The defense would like to call Mr. McGilder to the stand.
In that case, I would like to hear...
Okay, so the jury becomes relevant again.
Alright, yes, I need a little time to consider this.
If you ask me, I think we should hear what Mr. McGilder has to say.
Get the man out here, I say.
It would be utterly illogical not to hear his testimony.
When something needs doing, get it done. That's how I run things at the guild.
Hearing what the patron of my favorite little park has to say, oh yes, that would be lovely.
Yes, the jury says the man must be heard.
Very well. The court will hear the defendant's testimony. Bailiff, show the defendant to the stand at once.
Alright, here we go. The truth is about to come out. Now maybe what actually happened that night will finally become clear.
Let proceedings be resumed. Mr. McGilder, have you been listening to the discourse of the day?
Oh great, I have to do this voice again.
To be sure I have, my lord.
There are now two matters on which the court desires to hear from you. The first is whether or not there was a third party with you in the omnibus cabin as proposed by the defense. The second is that if such a person was indeed present, why did you conceal that fact from the police?
Begad, no! 'Tis not in my nature to hide anything at all.
Just answer the questions, please.
Yeah, your life is kind of on the line here. Your existence in this world is reliant on you telling the truth right now. So let's giddy up and skip right to the beat here. The truth of the matter is, I've been desperate about this all along. Do I tell you so, or keep your mouth shut? Tell us what, Mr. McGilder. The fine fellow representing me is absolutely right. In the carriage on the night with myself and the other man, there was another passenger.
It's true.
Aye, and it was me who helped the little urchin get away after it all happened. Little urchin? You what?
No, Magnus McGilder. That convenient excuse can't save you now.
I'm truly sorry, so I am, Lord Van Zeeks. I'm sure you'll be wanting to know why I said nothing when I was taken in by the police.
I'm sure you have a reason, so let's get to it. I do, we have a very good reason. Alright, great, then tell me the reason. Your freedom, sorry. Your life literally depends on you telling the truth right now, so let's hop to it, buddy. Let's skip right to the part where you tell me not only why you had to conceal the fact that there was another person in the omnibus at all, but also that you had to help this person get away. He did say that, right? Yeah, okay, he said, you said you helped the little urchin, which is a weird way to describe it, get away. So, okay, quick theory, is it gonna be a kid? Because saying little urchin makes me think, like, okay, so the small child, maybe? Maybe there was a kid in the cabin, and he didn't want the kid to fall under suspicion? That's gotta be what it is, in which case, we might be dealing with a turnabout certainty here, in which case we can't reasonably accuse that person, because obviously no one would believe for a second that, well, at least they shouldn't believe for a second that a kid would be able to do such a thing.
Isn't that right, Turnabout Serenade? Anyway, that's a rant for a different day in the future. So yeah, that's a theory at the moment. Well, I guess we'll find out. We'll probably find out in a second who it is, but I'm more interested in I guess his specific reasoning if it is that.
Well, the little child...
Yep, called it.
The little child was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and not in any way involved, you see?
What?
If the police had known the wee one was out there, they'd have assumed she'd done it. They'd have hauled her into this here courtroom, just like myself. I was only trying to spare her that. Young hearts and young minds are easily damaged, my lord.
And who was this young child of whom you speak?
That, I don't know.
You don't know?
Well, the wee thing just happened to be in the cabbage that night. I never saw her before or since.
We have absolutely no reason to believe this man.
Except for all the evidence that I just presented about how, and all the evidence I presented which led to us calling him to stand in the first place. Yeah, no reason to believe him.
The prosecution calls for the witness's statements to be disregarded by the court. Why? Because they don't favor you?
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the urchin isn't here in this courtroom as we speak. Listen to the proceedings.
Oh, what the hell? What? What the f***? What? What the hell? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Slow down. Slow the hell down. What the hell just happened? Did someone roll a smoke grenade into the room? Did GLaDOS gonna show up and be like,
Hello, and welcome to the Aperture Science Testing Facility. Please enjoy my neurotoxin. You're all dead. Goodbye.
what is... Did that happen in like a split second? 1 minute we're talking to Magnus McGilded about who the kid is, and the next second, BAM! A giant smoke grenade goes off in the room, and now we're all covered in smoke? What?
Be careful, Mr. Naruhodo. Cover your face.
Bailiff, don't let the accused escape. Secure the omnibus.
What, you think they're gonna take the omnibus to get out of this? I think you'd have a better chance of escaping the courtroom if you just ran for your life. I don't think that you would bother trying to get the omnibus set up with no horse in the room and run away with the omnibus like a rickshaw. No, that's not happening, buddy. A funny thought, but it's not happening.
I hereby call an emergency recess. Bailiff, ensure the defendant is in custody and clear the courtroom.
We were heavily removed from the smoke-filled courtroom by the bailiff, amid scenes of chaos as people stumbled over one another in the desperation to flee the chamber. We had no idea what was happening. All we knew was that, for the time being at least, the trial was suspended. Oh, we finally get a to be continued. Two trial sections, one investigation and 2 trial sections in, and we finally get a to be continued. What the hell just happened? Okay, so we're talking to Willy Wonka about some little gremlin that he let escape from the omnibus, and the next thing I know, well, bam! There's a smoke grenade gets thrown into the room, and then everything's in chaos, and people are passing out, and now I'm driving the bus. Points if you get that reference. What just happened? The whole world got turned upside down. Okay, all right then. I guess we'll see what happens next time. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next time. Catch you all tomorrow for what I assume to be the resolution of this wacky situation we've got ourselves in here. Goodbye.